No one thought of the woman and her need to use a bathroom. I mean, it was so unfair and so unjust. Just because I'm poor, I still have the right to live. Even when I wrote my judgments, I would think about whether I can give it a slight literary twist. I think the first work I read that I remember was Thangamambalam, which was an illustrated strip story, magic story in Kalki. I wish it was in English, I can't read Tamil.
We are at Chennai Book Fair and it's bustling with activity. And today we have a very eminent guest with us. Ms. Prabha Sridevan was a judge at Chennai High Court for 10 years and after that she was a chairperson of IPAB. She is also an acclaimed translator. She's translated writers like Imayam, Chudamani, Topal Muhammad Miran and more. Ma'am, I wanted to know how did your transition from being a judge of Madras High Court to being a translator or a writer happen?
It happened just by chance. I had read a Chudamani collection just at the time I was end of the term of my IPAB tenure. And a friend said, I wish it was in English, I can't read Tamil. So I just started as a lark without any intention of publishing. But it happened and here I am. I have translated quite a few writers. Yeah.
Ma'am, so you were always an avid reader of books.
Yeah, my BA was English literature.
Okay.
So even when I wrote my judgments, I would think about whether I can give it a slight literary twist. For instance, when I wrote the Da Vinci Code judgment, I spoke of Milton's Areopagitica, where he too talks of that freedom of speech.
As a judge, you must have had a very hectic life. So how did you find time to read books?
Reading was a habit, and I would read books by judges connected to law, and also occasionally I would read any book. I mean, I love books, so I would always read. Tamil, English, edhu varundhalum I would read.
What was the first book that you read?
It's difficult to remember, but if you don't count a book as book, I think the first work I read that I remember was Thangamambalam, which was an illustrated strip story, magic story in Kalki. That was fascinating. It was full of magic. The mango held some, I don't remember all the day, but Thangamambalam title has stuck in my.
Ma'am, books are, they are supposed to influence us greatly. Have you ever felt that this book is life-changing for me? Have you ever come across that kind of book, ma'am?
I can't say that because at every stage books have influenced me. But there is a judge called Claire Leroux Dubé who was a judge of the Canada Supreme Court. And in one of her books, she says, walk in the other's shoes. That somehow impacted me very much.
Now, I wanted to ask some questions about your role as a translator. I know you completely enjoy doing it, and we also as readers enjoy your translation. So, the range of authors you translate, there is Chudamani on one side and Imayam on the other side, and you translate Topal Muhammad Miran. They are like, to me as a reader, they are like poles apart. So how do you choose these writers?
To tell you the truth, they chose me. I'm not talking about the particular writer or anything, but somehow the works came to me. See, I've also translated Uvesa. He's as different from, and I've translated the lectures of the Kanchi Swami, which is also totally different. And it gives me immense satisfaction that I have lived the life of Miran, Imayam, Uvesa and everybody, which not many people can boast of. I have lived all those lives as a translator.
What are the challenges that you face as a translator when you kind of translate a particular author? I presume the challenges must be different for each author.
Yeah, they are different. For instance, Chudamani in some ways was easy because she's like me, an urban middle class woman, bilingual. But not all the writers I have translated are that. And so I have to kind of pause and give that flavor of the writer. In fact, once last year, one person came and tapped on my shoulder and said, "How is your Meera in English so different from your Imayam English?" Then I realized what I try in every translation, I have at least to some extent succeeded. At least with one reader, I have succeeded, if not with everyone.
And that was my next question. So I mean, do you consciously adopt a different style for each writer? You know, like Chudamani is different, Uvesa is completely different.
I can't use a modern word. Zipping and zapping and all that I can't use. I have to use a kind of an older English. If I am doing a story which belongs entirely to a village, I cannot use polysyllabic English words, which I may know. But if those characters spoke English, will they know? Is something that I constantly ask me. Is this a word that they will use if they were English literate?
What was the most gratifying translation that you've done? I'm sure you enjoy all the translations that you, but there must be
asking which child do you love most. But when you asked me this question, one answer came to me which really surprised me. I had never thought of it like this. A book is soon to come, which I have translated Emayam Sippodu Uyirode Irikire. I am alive for now. In that book, he really talks about how lack of money closes access to medicine, access to health, and access to life. And when I was in IPAB, I constantly saw the high-priced medicines and how they were. I mean, it was so unfair and so unjust. Just because I'm poor, I still have the right to live. So that was my philosophy there. And it was reflected in this story. The story is about it, and it kind of greatly moved me because when you're talking of a case, you're talking of a case. This is a person. So, I mean, I realized that this was an affirmation of what I had thought when I was in IPAB, and that I think was a very gratifying moment. Eureka moment, Madri.
Okay.
Something like that. Oh, yes, right.
Ma'am, I wanted to end with your latest translation. I completely enjoyed it, Varga Varga by Imayam. So, a short story collection.
Unbelievable because 3 stories. All the 3 so different. See, the first story, it talks of a lot of things. It talks of how even in a public, I mean, we are all at a meeting, at a political meeting. Even there is a fight for the chair and what caste someone is. And more than that, I felt that in this whole Mela, no one thought of the woman and her need to use a bathroom. Women are invisible in the world, in the political space, in any space. And that Imayam brings out very, very well. And the next one, Tiruneri Sami. I'm not sure many persons outside Tamil Nadu, I may say, but I may be wrong, know of this kind of life our Siddhars lived and how they sang and what they lived. They did not even want to leave their footprints on the sands of time because they knew everything is transient. Tiruneri Sami talks of that and how professing a same religion, 2 persons can have totally different views. So are they one or are they different? That's a very, very interesting question. And Samban blew me away. The amount of research he has done. I went to the original Sanskrit text and I realized that whatever facts and names Imayam writes about are there in the text. But then he talks of something more. Samban is afflicted because of a curse with leprosy. And you know how, and he establishes a forest of friendship. I mean, the fact that I'm excluded can make me bitter, but it makes him more inclusive. I think constantly MIM talks of how we need to have anbu, love for everybody. And that the story brings out very, very beautiful.
Having done so many translations, have you ever been inspired to write short stories or novel? Do you want to try?
You may be surprised, but actually I used to write short stories.
Okay.
And that was long ago. I think before I became a lawyer. Once I became a lawyer and heard the stories of others, I think I stopped writing stories. But I have written stories. They've been published in some magazines. Short stories.
And you don't want to write again?
Right now, there is no inspiration. I mean, it must come, la? That has not come. If it does, I'm sure I'll write.
Subscribe to the Federal's YouTube page for more news and updates.